Hello, beautiful people. My name is Jacob Burlingame of freedomforlifeproject.com, and today I wanted to make a quick video on responsibility and adulthood, maturity, growing up, not being the perpetual child. And this one has been on the back burner for a little while. I've had it on the notepad of video ideas to do, and I wrote it down, and then I just kind of didn't really think about it. I kind of pushed it away, but it kind of came up as this is now something I am working through and struggling with, and that's kind of the whole point of these videos. Is I'm going to open myself up. I'm going to talk about my experiences, what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, in the hopes that other people can learn, grow, relate to it, etc. So everything in all these videos is usually things that I myself am struggling with, and that's why I want to talk about them, because I'm sure there are other people also. I know there are other people also struggling with these type of issues. Specifically today, we're talking responsibility and maturity, adulthood, growing up. So I really loved hearing Mark Passio describe responsibility. I don't know if it's a description, but thinking of responsibility as your ability to respond. And that is something that is severely lacking in most people in today's world. And let's talk about a couple reasons I think that is. There are really two main camps I'm just going to talk about today. And one, I don't think you can leave out public education from this. The institution that you spent well over 10 years of your life at for 6 to 8 hours a day, to think that didn't have a big impact on your character and your development and you becoming who you are, that would be incredibly naive. So we're going to talk about that. And I wanted to start that off with a quote from John Taylor Gatto. I highly recommend reading and looking into John Taylor Gatto's work. We talked about him on the Freedom for Life podcast episode. Highly recommend you go check that out. I'll have the website linked in the description. If you look up Freedom for Life in any of your podcast players, you should see the podcast come up. It was our last episode. Episode 3 was on education. I think it was. I don't know. I'm getting off track worrying about if I'm correct in that or not. And there's a big quote, but it is the end of it, and the essence of it is real education is learning how to live and learning how to die. And I really like that idea, because that is what I'm going to be talking about today, is that we do not know how to live and we do not know how to die. We are not prepared to respond to life. We are not equipped, and that is by design. And to introduce another idea here of David Icke's upside down world, that everything is the inverse, everything is flipped on its head. And when you understand that, all of a sudden most of your confusion in this world will disappear. The institutions that say they will educate are the institutions that will destroy you from within. The institutions that say they will defend you are the ones who will violate you, etc., etc., etc. Once you understand that and very clearly can see it demonstrated in the world, things start to make a lot more sense. So not learning how to live and how to die. And the Prussian indoctrination system we all went through played a big role in that. And I don't want to. I'll talk briefly. I highly recommend looking into the education podcast, because that's like a 2.5 hour podcast talking all about the ways in which that destruction of self happens. But one of them, just a real quick, is the externalization of acceptance and reward. I'm not describing that well. The grading. You are externally graded. You do not develop a self-confidence from within. You are constantly externally seeking validation, not only from those grading you, but also from all of the other peers around you, who you begin to develop this worrisome. You begin to worry about the opinions of others very quickly in that type of system, where you're all being graded, you're all arbitrarily surrounded by this group of peers, and that is really damaging when you are really in that mindset of worrying about what other people think about you. As long as you're worried about what other people think about you, especially morons, you will never accomplish anything great in this life. And by great, I'm not talking just about like work, of like artistry or I'm not even talking about that kind of stuff. Even just things like having a beautiful, healthy family, things like that. Even though I do also think that every human being in this existence does have a great work within them, has something absolutely beautiful that they can bring to this existence, but it is the goal of the psychopaths to stop that life, to stop that love, to stop that expansion, to stop that evolution, to literally try to block out the light. Which is why we are all retarded. We're all stunted. That is the goal. So getting a little off track. The education system. So it's the grading. It's also the lack of responsibility. In school, your only responsibility is just doing what you're told. It is the obedience. It is preparing you to just wait around and wait to be programmed, wait to be told what to do. And this is what I see with a lot of young people in the world. And that's why a lot of them have such a hard reality check when they are finally out in that ocean of life, when they don't have anybody there to just tell them what to do. Because we don't know how to live. We don't know who we are, and we don't know how to live. And we are terrified of the responsibilities that come with that. And the unfortunate thing about being terrified of responsibilities is that is the only way growth and personal power come about, is by increasing your level of responsibility. And again, with that inverse idea, I absolutely am sure that in the past, kids were trying to get as much responsibility as quickly as possible. You were always interested in what the adult world was doing. And that is part of also the part of school, is creating that magical womb that we can shuffle you off into and keep you there for over 10 years of your life and really delay your existence into the world, so that when you do go into the world, you're not prepared for it. And that kind of reminds me of just this, in one of our other, podcast episodes of money and finance. And it was talking about, one guy was talking about how it's interesting how in the past usury and making money off of money was seen as a very lowly thing. You were seen as a parasite. It wasn't an ideal to strive for. But nowadays that is kind of the typical, I want to make as much money with as little effort as possible type of thing. And it's very similar. It's very similar to what I'm talking about with responsibility, where in the past you would want to grow and acquire more responsibility, whereas now the goal seems to be, how can I get through life with as little of it as possible? How can I push it off as long as possible? And as I said, growth and evolution and personal power require that responsibility, and without it, none of those things will happen, and you will stay stunted, and these things really destroy us. So education, I think that's a big part of this lack of seeking out of responsibility in young people today. And the other one is, another one I would say is addictions. Not only addictions to substances, because those are the results of the real addictions and the real parts of yourself that are messed up. And the real addictions are addictions to thoughts of yourself, to perceptions of yourself, to who do you think you are, being stuck in the past, and being in the past, but then being in the present, and then having that opposition within that creates just immense suffering. And then that is what causes the more surface level, like substance addictions. So that's a big one. And the last one I want to wrap up with is family, is the family life, because I think it was like the Inspiring Others Through Right Action video. I talked about how, unfortunately, I haven't had that many positive adult role models. A lot of my adult role models have taught me through the negative of me looking at them and saying, okay, that's not how I want to behave. I didn't like how that made me feel. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to act like that, etc. And where I was going with this was, if you ask a typical adult what it means to be an adult, they're going to give you, they're most likely going to give you a very either materialistic or system acceptable answer. And what I mean by system acceptable is, you pay your taxes, you got the job, the material thing is, you have the car, you got a car payment, you got your own house for no reason other than just to have your own house. Very material things. And just, I do that. Ask some adults around you, what would you say being an adult is? And chances are they're going to give you very surface level answer. You're not going to hear like being a moral human being, being a spiritually developed human being, being a responsible human being. That might be the one that you get. If you were to get any of those, it would probably be, well, you need to be responsible. But most of the people saying that are not truly responsible themselves. Yeah, this was a really ranty. These are good. As I said, these are just things that I am struggling with myself, of not being that perpetual child, of moving forward, of actually enacting evolution and becoming more complex and becoming more responsible and shedding yourself of your old addictions to self, of who you think you are. And it can be incredibly hard. It is very hard. And that's why most people I see in the world, like I said, especially young people, they're stuck, man. They are so stuck, and they are just sitting around waiting to be told what to do, like NPCs, a non-player character. They don't have that will of their own. They don't know how to live. They don't know who they are. They don't know how to act in the world. And it's incredibly destructive, because if you're a person like that, all you're ever doing is sitting around waiting to be told what to do. And if you're only ever sitting around waiting to be told what to do, there is no agency in that. You are an order follower. You cannot actually exert conscience. You cannot be a morally good person exerting conscience when you're just sitting around waiting to just suck up and absorb what the next person will tell you to do. And I think that's about it. I think I covered everything I wanted to do. The upside down world, what we call the education system, really messed us up, and we need to grow up. And it is becoming increasingly difficult to do that in the world, as increasingly there are more and more things that enable you to not do that. Whereas in the past, especially well before compulsory schooling, if you were a child and you were just out in the world experiencing life, and which what I would call real education, is being out in the world and truly experiencing life, making mistakes, failing, learning from them, growing, evolving. That would actually develop you into a real adult. I like to use the term cosmic adult, someone who is really awoken. And I think that's pretty much all I got to say. If you claim to be an awoken person, a moral person, and you have your kid in public education, right after you're done with this video, you got to go pick them up and never take them there again. I mean, it's horrible. If you claim to be a moral person, if you claim to be an awoken person, and you still have your child in public education, it will destroy them from within. It will make a resentful little bastard who is very vindictive and angry to other people around them, who will put on a front, but inside is just a vacuum. It's just a void. There is no self within. They do not know themselves. They have not explored, because they're always worried externally of what other people will think about them. What grade am I going to get this? How am I going to be judged on this? And it really sets you up for a life of fucking misery. God, I did not want to swear there. I'm gonna end that. I'm gonna end it right here. So that's responsibility in adulthood. Yeah, take care, people.